Top 5 Most Mysterious People. Number 5. The Isdal Woman. In 1970, a group of hikers outside of Bergen, Norway, suddenly came upon the charred, naked corpse of a woman in the middle of the Isdalian Valley. The body was nicknamed the Isdal Woman, presumably because Joanne Storm was considered too disrespectful to her memory, and the investigation that followed was so bizarre and surreal that it was most like a television series by David Lynch than actual police work. She was naked, tags had been removed from all her clothing, her fingerprints had been sanded away, and next to her was a burnt passport. At the scene, a significant amount of sleeping pills was discovered, along with bottles of petrol. The body was traced to 2 suitcases at a train station in Bergen, where police discovered a prescription for lotion, though the name and address of the doctor had been removed. They also discovered 500 German marks and a journal with entries in code. Witnesses said she would wear various wigs and spoke many languages, including French, German, English, and Flemish. After investigation, it is found that the woman had up to 9 fake identities, which she used to travel in Europe. The autopsy revealed that the woman had taken several sleeping pills before the death, which supports that she may have done suicide, though some believe she may have been killed, but her identity is still in the dark. The case remains unsolved to this day, with most assuming the Isdal woman was a spy. Number 4. D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper is the alias used by one of the most notorious criminals in American history. On November 24, 1971, a man traveling under the alias Dan Cooper, the media later erroneously printed his name as D.B. Cooper, hijacked a Boeing 727 mid-flight and took the crew and passengers hostage. Cooper told a flight attendant that he had a bomb in his briefcase and asked the pilot to contact air traffic control in nearby Seattle and demand that they ready $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a refueling truck for when the plane landed, which was granted by authorities on the ground, who also gave orders for the flight crew to cooperate entirely, allowing Cooper to successfully land the plane at Seattle-Tacoma Airport, where he requested all passengers and most flight attendants leave the aircraft. The plane then took off once more, and Cooper asked all the crew to join the pilot in the cockpit, where he was briefly observed tying something around his waist. Then, barely 50 minutes after the second takeoff, the plane's air staff apparatus had been activated, suggesting that the man had jumped from the aircraft, which was confirmed when he could not be found on board after the eventual landing at Reno Airport. Cooper parachuted somewhere between Seattle and Reno, but was never identified, and is now regarded as one of the most mysterious criminals in U.S. history. He didn't hurt anyone, and was described as being calm and polite, and despite his dramatic undertaking and escape, was never identified by anyone, and even though he's being hunted by the FBI, he's $200,000 better off. Number 3. Tiananmen Square Tank Man. The video footage of the Tank Man from Tiananmen Square is arguably one of the most iconic videos ever recorded. Following the violent suppression of student-led protests held in Tiananmen Square, also known as the Tiananmen Square Massacre, on June 3rd and 4th, 1989, the Chinese military continued to send reinforcements to the area. On June 5th, video footage shows one lone man standing directly in the path of an advancing column of Type 59 tanks. When the tank tries to maneuver around the man, he sidesteps and keeps in his path. He then jumps on the roof and appears to have a short conversation with the tank driver before jumping back down and standing in its path yet again. He does this for about 2 minutes until he's finally ushered away by a small crowd of people. To this day, no one knows who the Tank Man is or what happened to him. To this day, China's propaganda machine excludes any mention of the Tiananmen Square protests from discussion and from history books. But for the West, the Tank Man endures as a symbol of protest and as proof of China's government censorship. Number 2. The Babushka Lady. In 1963, at the time of assassination of President John F. Kennedy, an unknown woman was present in the ground. According to the witnesses and films captured that time, she wore a headscarf and captured the assassination in his camera. After shooting, she joined the crowd and disappeared. That lady never came forward despite of FBI requests. In all the photographs or films of her, she is either facing away from the camera or covered her face with her own camera. Who was that lady and why she never came forward is still a question. Number 1. The Man in the Iron Mask. It started in 1698, when a prisoner using the name Eustache Daguerre was transported to the Bastille, the 17th century French equivalent of a maximum security prison. He had already spent between 2 and 3 decades, old-timey records are, at best, imprecise, rotting in various jails across the country. According to legend, he showed up already locked in the Iron Mask, which looked like an Iron Man Mark I helmet, and was immediately tossed in a cell, forbidden to speak to anyone except to ask for food, water, or a pot to go to the bathroom. Nobody discussed who he was or what he had done or why he needed to be dressed like a very lazy knight. He was listed in the Bastille records as prisoner 64389000. He was forbidden to ever show his face to anyone, and some prisoners claimed he had 2 armed guards with him at all times should he ever try to take the mask off. In that event, we assumed they would aim for his chest or shove their musket barrels into the iron eye holes. Dogger, or whatever his name truly was, died in 1703. Bonus: the Woman of the Cyan, aka the CPR dummy model. In the 1950s, Dr. Peter Safar refined a system of life-saving techniques that eventually became known as CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and he recreated a Norwegian toy manufacturer, Asmund Lordell, to produce a mannequin on which these techniques could be practiced. As he created this mannequin, which he later named Recessian, Lasdale was inspired to give it the face of the young woman who drowned in the Seine, thus allowing CPR trainees to symbolically save her life. By now, Recessian, or CPR Annie, as she is called in the US, has been saved thousands, if not millions of times over, and her face has become known to new generations of admirers. It's a fitting tribute to Annie, whoever she may have been, in that her ultimate legacy will not only be tied to tragedy and death, but to compassion and survival. Every single rescue dummy manufactured since then has had her face, which means that if you've ever been a lifeguard or had to take CPR training in high school, you have wrapped your lips around the mouth of a 130-year-old dead girl. Thanks for watching,